The ice was silent. No music, no spotlight, no roaring crowd inside a packed arena. Just one announcement that nobody saw coming. At only 20 years old, a former world champion stood at the center of global attention once again, but this time not for a triple axel, not for a gold medal, and not for a record-breaking score. This time it was because something had gone wrong. What exactly happened to Alysa Liu? Why did this unexpected development force her to speak out? And what does it mean for one of the most fascinating careers in American figure skating history? Stay with me, because this story is not just about skating. It's about pressure, identity, reinvention, and the cost of growing up in front of the world. Alysa Liu's journey has always felt larger than life. Born in California, the daughter of a single father who believed fiercely in her dreams, Alysa stepped onto the national stage at an age when most kids are still figuring out middle school. At just 13 years old, she became the youngest U.S. women's national champion in history, breaking a record that had stood for decades. Let that sink in. 13. While other teenagers were worrying about homework and social media drama, Alysa was landing triple axels in front of millions. Her smile was bright, her ponytail bounced with every spin. America fell in love with her almost overnight. But behind the medals and headlines, something else was building. Expectation, pressure, and a spotlight that never dimmed. By the time she reached the international stage, comparisons were constant. Commentators dissected every jump. Analysts debated her technique. Fans expected her to carry American women's figure skating back to dominance. And she delivered, again and again. She represented Team USA at the Winter Olympics. She won a world championship medal. She proved she wasn't just a prodigy. She was the real deal. Then came the first shock. In 2022, at just 16 years old, Alysa Liu announced her retirement from competitive figure skating. Retirement. At 16. The skating world froze. Comment sections exploded. Sports analysts scrambled for explanations. Why would someone at the top of their game walk away? Was it burnout, injury, family pressure, or something deeper? Alysa's explanation was simple, almost disarmingly honest. She said she wasn't enjoying skating anymore. She wanted to live a normal life. She wanted to be a teenager. And just like that, she stepped away. But here's the part people don't talk about enough. Walking away from fame is harder than achieving it. When you've been labeled a phenom since childhood, who are you without the medals, without the rank, without the applause? That question lingered. For 2 years, Alysa stayed largely out of the competitive spotlight. She enrolled in college. She explored life beyond figure skating. Interviews became rare. Social media quieted. Some fans assumed that chapter was closed forever, until it wasn't. In early 2024, Alysa Liu surprised the skating world again by announcing her comeback to competitive figure skating. Just like that, the headlines returned. Alysa Liu is back. Can the former champion reclaim her throne? Redemption arc begins. But comebacks are never simple. They're emotional, physical, and brutally demanding. Training intensity ramped up, expectations resurfaced, and whispers began circulating about whether her body and mind could handle another Olympic cycle. Then came the unfortunate development. Reports surfaced that Alysa had been dealing with a significant injury during training. Details were scarce at first. Speculation filled the void. Was it chronic? Was it severe? Would it derail her comeback entirely? Fans grew anxious.
That's when Alysa decided to speak directly. In a candid announcement, she addressed the injury, confirming that she would need to step back from certain competitions to prioritize recovery. Her tone wasn't dramatic. It wasn't defensive. It was calm, almost reflective. She acknowledged the disappointment, but she also acknowledged something more important: growth. She spoke about learning to listen to her body, about understanding that pushing through pain isn't always strength, about realizing that longevity matters more than short-term glory. For someone who once carried the expectations of a nation at 13, that shift in mindset felt monumental. Think about it. How many athletes are taught that rest is weakness, that stepping back means failure, that quitting, even temporarily, equals defeat? Alysa's announcement challenged that narrative, but not everyone responded the same way. On social media, reactions were divided. Many fans offered overwhelming support, praising her maturity and transparency. Others questioned the timing of her comeback. Some critics even suggested that retiring young and returning later was a sign of instability. Is it fair? Or are we simply uncomfortable when athletes refuse to follow the traditional script? Sports culture loves a clean storyline. Prodigy rises, struggles, wins gold, retires gracefully. But Alysa's journey has never followed a straight line. And maybe that's the point. Behind the public statements, there's a psychological layer that rarely gets discussed. Child prodigies often face an identity crisis in early adulthood. When your talent defines you from childhood, separating your self-worth from your performance becomes complicated. When Alysa retired at 16, many assumed she was escaping pressure. Now, facing injury during her comeback, she's confronting a different kind of test: patience. Can she rebuild without rushing? Can she compete without tying her happiness to scores? Can she prove, not to the judges, not to the media, but to herself, that skating is a choice, not an obligation? There's also a broader shift happening in sports culture. Athletes like Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, and others have opened conversations about mental health, burnout, and autonomy. The era of silent suffering is fading. Alysa Liu belongs to this new generation, a generation that prioritizes well-being over optics. But that doesn't make it easy. Training at an elite level means early mornings, relentless repetition, and constant evaluation. An injury doesn't just threaten physical readiness, it tests confidence. Every jump becomes a question mark. Every landing, a mental hurdle. Will it hold? Will it hurt? Will it ever feel effortless again? Those are the quiet battles fans never see. And yet, there's something different about Alysa this time. Observers have noted a subtle change in her demeanor. Less urgency, more self-awareness. In interviews, she sounds grounded, less like a child chasing expectations, more like a young adult choosing her path. That evolution may be the most important development of all, because whether she returns to the top podium or not, the narrative has shifted. This is no longer just the story of a prodigy. It's the story of a young woman redefining success on her own terms. So what happens next? Realistically, recovery timelines in figure skating are unpredictable. The sport demands explosive power and precision. A rushed return could risk further setbacks. A careful approach could extend her career well beyond what anyone initially imagined. The 2026 Winter Olympics loom in the distance. Is that still the goal? Or is this comeback about something more personal, proving to herself that she can skate purely for love? Only Alysa knows. But here's the deeper question for all of us watching. Why do we place so much weight on whether someone wins again? Isn't the courage to walk away and then come back a victory in itself? In many ways, Alysa Liu represents a modern athlete's dilemma. Talent can open doors, but self-awareness determines which ones you choose to walk through. Her announcement, though triggered by an unfortunate development, felt less like bad news and more like a statement of control. She isn't being pushed out. She's choosing her pace. That distinction matters. And maybe that's why the story resonates beyond figure skating. It mirrors something universal: the pressure to perform, the fear of disappointing others, and the bravery required to say, "I need time." As the skating season unfolds, cameras will return, commentators will analyze, fans will debate. Will she regain her technical arsenal? Can she compete against a new generation of rising stars? Has the sport evolved too much during her absence? Those questions remain unanswered. But perhaps the more compelling storyline is this: what does fulfillment look like for someone who achieved everything before adulthood? If Alysa Liu steps back on Olympic ice again, it won't be as a wide-eyed prodigy. It will be as someone who has tasted fame, walked away from it, and chosen to return. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. That changes everything. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think early retirement helped or hurt her long-term career? Should athletes prioritize mental and physical health over legacy? And can a comeback be successful even without a gold medal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's have that conversation. Because stories like this aren't just about sports. They're about growth, resilience, and redefining success. Alysa Liu's announcement may have come amid unfortunate circumstances, but sometimes setbacks aren't endings. They're recalibrations. They're pauses before a different kind of triumph. And if history has taught us anything about Alysa, it's this: never assume you've seen the final chapter. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of figure skating's most compelling young stars, make sure you subscribe to Celebrity TrendSpot for more powerful celebrity stories told with depth and truth. Like this video if you believe athletes deserve the space to grow. Share it with fellow skating fans. And don't forget to comment. Your voice shapes these conversations. Because coming up next, we're uncovering another shocking twist in the world of celebrity sports.